Well, to kind of recap some of the Nevada game after watching it, big picture wise, I thought there were some great individual efforts. Receiver play was at a high level. I thought the response of our defense was really impressive. Was not the standard early on in the game on that side of the ball. I mean, making mistake after mistake, but got some things figured out. And really the last, I want to say, almost 40 minutes of that game felt great about defensively. And just what was impressive to me was the defense in the third quarter because, got within two scores, whatever, 9-point game. And third quarter, the offense comes out, and we still don't get anything done the first couple of possessions, but the defense kept us in that game. And then, found a way to get some things going offensively in the fourth quarter. And those guys continued to battle, man, and had an opportunity at the end of the game to win the game. But ultimately, you look at what took place for 60 minutes. We had multiple times throughout that game to make a difference. And I was on all three sides. We had opportunities to get the ball turnover-wise defensively, had opportunity to block a punt. Our coverage units return game could have been better. And then obviously offensively, you turn it over 3 times. One of them goes for 7 points. So there's multiple things that led to a loss, and that was disappointing. But the mantra's really not changing for these guys. It's like we're going to compete, and then we're going to improve on it. And so yesterday, you got to learn a lot from the tape. I think we're learning a ton that, the details matter. I think we're learning that we can do some things on both sides of the ball. And so that was the message to those guys yesterday. And now we're moving forward. Just fired up to start Pac-12 play. Got a good opponent coming in here and back home at Redshirt Stadium, and anxious to get our students around. School's starting this week, and so looking forward to that atmosphere and a great week of work. That's where I'm at.
Jonathan, right here. Obviously a tough loss. How has the team kind of rebounded from that? You have the flight back, you have Sunday a little bit. Just kind of what's that mentality like been? It seemed like for some posts on Twitter, there was some upbeatness about, hey, stick with us. I thank you guys for being here. Have you seen them kind of just rebound pretty well from such a tough loss?
I think they have. Just looking at what we were able to do yesterday, practice-wise, felt like those guys were good effort. They were into it, cleaning up some mistakes. I do think we're a tight-knit unit in regards to each side, kind of helping each other out, lifting up others, and so there's some positive vibe there. They're definitely disappointed, which, you're trying to win games. If you lose a game, it's disappointing. But this is a long season. You got 12 games guaranteed to play, and so we got to be able to rebound, and it looked like they did yesterday.
Defensively, was it just more than we want to play better? Was there somebody that triggered it? Was there something schematically you did differently? Was there?
I asked Tibbs the same thing. So. And there really wasn't big adjustments made. It's not like all of a sudden we started calling something different. Those guys just were not in the correct spots early on, and then they were. And I don't know maybe it was a word spoken on the sideline by defensive coaches, but there really wasn't huge adjustments made. They started getting in the right spot and playing it correctly.
And then you guys talk a lot about, learning from, getting better, cleaning stuff up. This is the first time as a head coach you were in the fire. The first 2 games, you were the head coach, but the game didn't come down to the end. What did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, I think that we had actually talked about some of those scenarios throughout fall camp, like end-of-game scenarios. And I learned that, we put them through that process. It's time to go execute, and we really executed the way we wanted to do it in regards to getting in position, felt confident with our kicker, especially a 2-point game. And so I learned that, it's important to be doing a lot of that, recreating that stuff August and throughout the year, but early September. When the moment came, we executed all the way till the end.
Seems like there's charts for everything in the beginning of games. Is there a chart in that scenario, or is that a feel it out type of a situation?
What charts for, like, if
Just in this situation, you recall this play, or you do this scenario, you go forward on fourth down if you're in the clock, all these kinds of chart things for beginnings and middles of games.
Yeah.
What about coming down to the end in a situation like you were in on whether or not to run a play or two or to kick? Is there a chart for that, or is that by feel?
There's no real chart if you're behind. You're behind, well, it's like, are we down what? We were down 2. Well, if we were down 3, field goal ties it, there's a different mentality. But when a field goal is going to win the game, we've talked about an approach that, again, we executed the way we wanted to.
And you had said in preseason and even last spring, but mostly in preseason, especially before Ohio State, you just want these guys to compete for 60 minutes and learn and grow. Did you feel like they did? Obviously, they did. They did because you came back and you were in it in the end. But then there was that part in the beginning. Was that
Yeah.
considered not competing, or how'd you feel about what you want to see in competing
Right.
for 60?
It goes to your true definition of competing, and playing with great effort is a part of that. And so I do think that we can play with great effort for 60 minutes. Competing is also about responding because it's not always going to go great. We're down 30-7, and this thing could have gone sideways in a big way. Well, they responded to that. And kept on fighting. But also competing is a little bit about executing when you need to execute. And we didn't do that for 60 minutes, and that cost us.
On that final drive, when did a touchdown come off the table, and when was it? When were you thinking?
When
field
we got
goal?
the ball inside the 20-yard line, and we weren't going to take a shot. Once we got there inside the 20, we knew we had 2 timeouts. We were going to center the thing and hold on to a timeout because you know how a 10-second runoff goes, and so we were saving that one by chance. We had a penalty, a false start, something to that extent where we had the timeout to block the 10-second runoff.
Jonathan, you've been saying for a couple weeks now that you and your staff feel like you have 2 quarterbacks that can win at this level. I think we saw that a little bit on Saturday. Now, where does that sit? Is that still week to week? And how is Jake progressing now?
Yep. I feel good about where it's at. I really do. I think we got 2 guys that have shown that we could move the football with. Jake, tweaked his ankle in the game. He didn't practice yesterday, so we're back to kind of this scenario and how much he can practice this week. We'll let those guys kind of go about it. And I do think the way the thing continues to play out, we're going to need 2 guys to be able to play in games. And so I feel good about where it's at.
These have been 3 pretty different games, so does that change the way you prepare for Pac-12 play this week, or do you just take a little bit from everything?
No, I think you take kind of from all of it. I do think you get into these league games, we're going to be playing some really good opponents. And the way these guys prepared and play, I feel like we're ready to start playing in a conference game. And we got a great opponent coming in. The schemes we've seen has been a benefit, I think, in the 3 different opponents. We've seen some different stuff, and so we'll be able to adjust and game plan in a larger perspective.
How much do you need? It seemed like when Isaiah Hodgins is doing what he's doing Saturday, your offense is pretty darn good. How much do you need to think about trying to engage him as much as possible?
Right. I think he's just a great example of we've had standouts, different guys standing out offensively in 3 games. And so when we can keep everyone healthy and on the field, we've got multiple weapons. And I think that's important offensively to have some, being multiple and where the ball could be going and having a couple of backs that can carry the ball and having a couple of go-to receivers because some guys are going to get double teamed and some are not. And so I think it was just another example of another guy stepping up.
The pass protection, did you feel like that took a step backward Saturday, or?
Yeah, I think that as a group, that was not to our standard. And I say group, meaning all 11 guys. I think there was times that, we got to give the quarterback a little bit more time. And then there's other times the quarterback's got to get rid of the ball. And then there's 2 snaps, we got to get open in a timely fashion. The guy can't just sit there and hold the ball that long. And so I think it's a group effort on that. I think the other thing that played out in that, we got ourselves in such 3rd and long that it was painful. You're going to have a tough time converting, and the pass rush is going to come when it's 3rd and 12. And so as a group, we got to improve that.
To follow that up, though, if you could kind of go through that last 4th down play that kept that drive alive to get you in field goal position, unbelievable. There was a lot of time. Also, was that the primary receiver, or was that a check down because it was so long?
Yeah, no, we were trying to actually throw a dig on the back side of the play. And Connor does a great job with his eyes, keeping his eyes up, extends the play, and then a great job really of staying in bounds and catching it on the sideline. And so I think it's another point of Connor starts this game, has a couple things to struggle. We need a spark. Here comes Jake. Jake goes into the game, gets dinged. Connor's ready to go again and responds, comes back, takes us all the way down the field. But that 4th down rep was huge by Connor.
Looking ahead to Saturday, what have you been able to see from Arizona, especially now that they played a common opponent in Southern Utah this last Saturday night?
I think they can be really dynamic offensively. The athleticism shows up on tape, not just the quarterback. I mean, that guy is a really good player, but they've got a lot of skill players that can do some things. And so that shows up on tape. I think defensively, I know this defensive coordinator, and he does a really good job. Those guys are playing really hard. And he's extended his scheme a little bit, not just being the 3 down front. You're seeing a mix of 3 down and 4 down. So, but we got a challenge.
Well, because it's been brought up a lot the last couple days, that the field goal, was there roughing kicker on that?
I don't think you're going to get that call. And no, there was not.
Kipper, he's eligible now. What kind of plans do you have for him?
Yeah, but we found that out kind of last minute at the end of last week, and so right now he'll get in the mix and travel a little bit, and we'll see where it goes. He had not been getting as many reps, with the first unit, obviously, but now that he's cleared, he'll get some more reps, and we'll see where he's at.
Other than Jake, I'm just trying to think back. Any other dings?
Nothing long term. We've got some bumps and bruises for sure, but nothing long term. On the injury front, hopeful for Bradford. We'll kind of see where he goes this week in practice. I think there's an outside chance of Noah. We'll see though, and we'll kind of see how the week goes. Obviously, Luton himself. Again, we'll see how this week goes.
And you had a number. I don't remember what the number was, but this huge number of guys who had never played before the Ohio State game. They're trues and then the redshirts.
Yeah.
How are they doing now? I mean, are they growing at the rate you'd like to see them?
Yeah, I mean, as a group, first-time players, they're. I like the group. They're not playing perfect football, but no one does. I think it's actually, as a group, a decent, mature for a freshman or a first-time player group. That I think they've improved each week. The approach, the way they've been preparing, has been really good. Curveball is now school's starting, and so school's starting Thursday. That's a new wrinkle for them. I mean, this schedule's been awesome for them for the last 6-7 weeks. So it'll be good. Again, excited about the students coming back, but that'll be a different dynamic for these young guys.
You guys talk a lot about this is about us, no one else, things like that. But when you have a game like that, do you have to tell your players to not listen to the outside noise or focus on what other people are saying?
I think you got to remind them that, what we're really focused on, what is taking place within our building and on our team. And so you remind them of that. We don't just operate as if there's nothing out there. I mean, there's going to be, you want people to be interested in what's going on. And so it's a part of the business, but reminding them to stay focused on what takes place here is the most important.
Last season, Khalil Tate, kind of jumps into the whole realm and does so many fantastic things. Have you seen anything different? It seems like they're not running him very much this year. Have you seen, obviously with a new coach, but
Yeah.
have you seen a difference in this game? He's passing pretty well.
He is.
How have you kind of maybe seen him be a little bit different this season from last year?
I think it is impressive the way he's throwing it. Again, a new scheme over there, a bunch of good offensive coaches over there. But the way he's been throwing it has been impressive. He's still moving around now. I mean, he's still scary, extending plays, and what's maybe even scarier is that he's throwing it so well. But then, you got to contain him in the pocket. He gets outside, and that's going to be a challenge for us.
You mentioned last week that you really didn't want to run your backs too much, and then Jefferson gets 25 carries. Some of that obviously was injuries, but did you know he had piled up that many carries in the game? And is that something you want to keep, kind of keep a handle on? Or
We're aware of it. And again, I felt good about when he wasn't in the game. The other guys that got in, Case and Christian, did do some good things. But carrying it 25 times, we didn't have a specific number, but I know I don't want to have him carrying it 25 times for the next 4 straight games. We'd like to get some help back. But again, he's going to carry it more than 15, 18. The guy's a good player for us, and he needs to touch the ball.
With school starting this week, you mentioned it's a different dynamic. Do you have a story from the past, when school started? Washington always started real late, and I don't know if Idaho didn't, but
No.
But do you have anything you remember where guys, they're playing 4 or 5 weeks and there's no school, and all of a sudden
Yeah, it comes.
it hits them in the face?
Oh, it does, because, we changed the schedule a little bit. They just had a decent amount of free time, where now, the way we block it, they've got their afternoons to be going to class. So it'll be different for them. But again, it's a great part of college football because class is important. The school environment is great here, and I want them to enjoy that, but also being able to lock in on football.
Coach, did Isaiah Small show you a different dimension in this game? And the one athletic play, breaking a tackle, getting you down deep. I mean, were you at all surprised? I mean, we hadn't seen as much of that.
Right. No, he actually had a kind of similar play in fall camp. So I wasn't totally surprised. I will say I think he's growing in the run game. We go out to pregame. Teagan kind of tweaks his hip. He don't play the whole game. And so Small's got a lot of reps in there and did some things in the run game, which he, wants to continue to grow in. Just appreciate his effort on how he's doing it.
From a head coaching standpoint, Jonathan, do you need to talk to Jordan about the kick and just try to keep him up? Do you ramp up competition? I mean, how do you handle that within your approach this week?
Yeah, I think Jordan's a pretty mentally tough kid. He missed a kick and it was really physical. I think he went out there with the utmost confidence, and I think he's ready to rebound from that. So, not extended conversations anyway. I mean, not. Just like I'm saying, we missed a couple opportunities on both sides, not extended conversations individually with those guys.
Kickoffs, is that still kind of a work in progress with the rule? I know the first couple, Champs kind of.
Kickoff return you're talking about?
Yeah, kickoff return, he kind of bobbled one at the goal line, and he brought one out from 1 yard deep, and where, it's kind of 50-50 whether you fair catch that or not. What?
It needs to be cleaner. I know where you're getting at. I mean, that was, like I say, another phase or opportunity to be able to do some better things in that game. So we got all our eyes on it. I mean, Champ needs to catch the ball. We need to block better for him. And their coverage unit ran by us a couple of times. It just wasn't good enough. And so we got our eyes on it, and if it can improve, we'll start bringing them out a bit more effectively. If not, we'll start fair catching it.
Do you like the new rule?
I actually do. It adds a little strategy to the game. It always, again, trying to make the game as safe as possible. I think that's an advancement to make it safer.
But you can use it strategically you want to run some out, but some you're clearly not going to get 25 yards, so do the fair catch at the 10.
That's the thinking, yeah.
You talked about having both Jake and Connor in there. How close are you guys to having them be able to run everything kind of the same? I know they have different skill sets, but it seems like you didn't change too much.
No.
Are they getting closer to being,
No,
it doesn't matter who's out there, you can pretty much run everything?
That's pretty, Brian's mindset, I don't think he has two call sheets up there. I mean, he's calling the same plays. The plan really doesn't change when the two of them are out there.
Jonathan, what did you think of Josiah Irish in the punt return game and the decisions he had to make on some pretty tough punts?
Yeah, and it was the awkward punts the way the wind was blowing out there. And so I thought he did a really good job in his decisions. And when he needed to catch the ball, he caught it as a true freshman in a tougher environment, elevation, wind. Again, going back to the maturity of the younger guy we got, pretty impressed with it.
You've had two interceptions now when Doug Dalmalau gets free and creates pressure. He did it at Ohio State. He did it here. And what did you think of the athletic ability shown by both those guys, McCartan on the return, et cetera?
Yeah, it was created again by Doug and the pressure. We were blitzing that play, and McCartan does a great job because he's looking to match up with a receiver. He doesn't get the receiver, so he drops more or less into the zone, proper technique, and grabs it. And so John's made a couple of plays the last couple of weeks as a true freshman, and Doug's been a part of some plays too.